regular council meeting of the Village of Armada, October the 26th, will now come to order. Will everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you kindly. Clerk will call roll, please.
Shaw.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Conan.
Here.
Wolock.
Here.
Baylor.
Here.
Slutz.
Here.
Elke.
Here.
Okay. All present. At this time, the floor is open, or wait a minute, approve of the agenda. What is the council's wishes, please?
Mr. President, I'd like to amend the agenda by taking in new business, the sidewalk quotes to number A, the DPW supervisor retirement to number B, to letter B, and approval of HydroCore Incorporated contract for non-residential cross-connection inspections to C.
So the sidewalks is A,
Yep,
Then you're just moving the other two down.
other two
Right.
down.
But while Lyle's got that on the floor, I'd like to pull the HydroCorp Incorporated contract to the next meeting. I've got to ask a question or two of the vendor,
so C is crossed off.
C is,
C or B or whatever?
yeah,
Yeah.
B, which would have become C, is now crossed off.
Okay.
Good deal. With that in mind, Mr. President, I'll
No.
move,
Names. Oh, go ahead. Names. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. Shut up. I know.
Mr. President, I'll move the agenda be accepted as amended.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion?
Who supported that?
Shaw.
Okay.
Shaw.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next, the floor is open up to the citizen comments. Anyone who would like to address the council at this time, you have 3 minutes. State your name for the record, please.
My name's Steve Nickel, 22757 Barrows, and I'm here tonight to ask the council what the plan is for fixing the water over in our area. I brought a pipe that we cut out, and we had replaced everything. Everybody knows it was the Assembly God Church. We're at the end of the line. Ed's been over there tirelessly flushing the main, trying to get things out of there. But we're at the end of a main. It's an old rusted main, and it's just a problem. It really is. I'll pass this around. If you look inside, this is brand new PEX pipe. That was in place for 3 months. That's how much rust came through our line. So since that time, what we've had to do, let me get my notes. We've had to put in water softener / iron filters to be able to use the water. It's that bad. The rechargers of the systems, it's a salt system, they recharge about every 8 days. That's what we had to set them to be able to still use the water. So if you divide that by 90 days, which is a quarter, we're recharging 11 1/4 times. They run at about 100 gallons on a recharge, so we're using 1,125 gallons of water that we're having to pay for water and for sewage that other people in the village are not paying. The quality of water over there is disgusting, and if I don't have the filters, I can't use it whatsoever. The filters cost us $3,200 a piece. We had to put 2 of them in, 1 on each side. I had to put a reverse osmosis system in so my ice maker would work, because the salt in the system was too much for the ice maker. Now the latest problem we have, now we've got sulfur gas that's coming in our line. And what's happening with this is, if you're familiar at all with a plumbing system, when a plumbing system runs, plumbers would take and put a T going up, a cap on it. That's for water hammer. Well, the sulfur gas is collecting in these T's, and it's staying there for weeks on end. And just a little bit comes out each time you turn the faucet, just enough that my wife gags to death when she tries to brush her teeth in the morning. So she has to come over and use another sink that doesn't have one on it. I find that completely unacceptable for what we're paying for water and what other people are not enduring. So now, Ed said the only way I can get rid of that is put a carbon filter on. So now we've got to buy carbon filters to take care of our water. My daughter had a brand new washer when she first moved into the place. We didn't realize what was going on. It was completely coated with rust on the inside. It ruined the washer, ruined the blanket. We threw both of them out. We've never been here to ask about this thing once. And any untreated water, it's not drinkable. It's not usable for any sanitation other than toilets. I mean, you can't use it for washing. You can't go through your dishwasher. It can't go through anything. And like I said, if you look at how much rust is in those pipes, those are plastic pipes that just about nothing sticks to. That's 3 months worth of water running through. So my dilemma is now I've got, like I said, sulfur gas in my water. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm paying the same rate that everyone else in the village is paying for. And I think that I'm being discriminated against, number one. Number two, I don't think it's drinkable water. And I don't think that we should have to invest this kind of money that no one else has to invest in. Does anyone else in the room have water softeners and osmosis on their water so they can use it? Because I've got 2 other units. I've got a place on Spencer, I have my office. The water in both of those smells like chlorine. It's fantastic. And I complimented that. I said, geez, you guys are doing a great job. I don't know what's going on over here. He said, well, it's your water main. He says, until the village decides to do something and spend the money to fix it, there's nothing else we can do. So,
Yeah, if I can, Steve, you are on a dead-end main. It's one of several in the village.
that's what I believe.
These have been identified in the water reliability study that we did a year ago. It's on a list. There's a big list of distribution system piping that's small or is dead-ended and really needs to be opened up. There's a significant cost to doing that. Village doesn't have the money right at the moment to do that. We are actively looking at ways to try to find the money to do that over a long period of time. We just entered into a agreement for a study on capital improvements and how to fund over a long period of time, so that maybe we can undertake some of those issues.
I can appreciate what you're saying to me in the dilemma that the village is in. But the dilemma that I'm in is that I'm paying the same thing that everyone else in this room is, and I don't think that's right. First off, I just don't think it's right. I mean, I'm paying for a substandard product that no one else is paying the same thing for. That's the first thing. The second thing, we've been there for over 3 years now. I brought this up before you were, I think, Mike, when you were on.
Yeah.
And then I talked to you a year ago about it, or a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And we're still not going anywhere with it. We're researching, we're trying to find, ways to fix it. And in the meantime, I keep getting gouged for this. I just,
We do know how to fix it.
I don't like it.
You do know how to fix it. We have to have the money to fix it. And so that's the latest thing that we're doing. It's very, very much a real-time current thing that we're working on now, is to determine how to pay for some of these longer-term or more expensive projects that right now we don't have the money to pay for. And I know it's an answer you don't want to hear. There are a couple priority projects that we have to take care of before that, but we know about it now, whereas we may not have clearly known about it before. We've identified it, we have an idea how much it costs. I couldn't tell you that off the top of my head, but I could certainly tell you what the cost to open that up is over there and make it an open-ended loop, not a dead-end main, and change some of the plumbing. It's not an insignificant amount of money, so we got to find a way to do it. I don't know that it's much consolation for you, but I would tell you we're actively looking at ways to do it.
Well, I appreciate that, but in the meantime, what do we do about the water that we're being charged for that's not usable? I mean, like I said, we spent $6,000 in filters, no, more than that, $7,000 in filters. We're paying the same rate that everyone else is paying. We're paying extra every quarter to recharge the things so that we can even use the water. We're paying sewage on the water that we're cleaning the water that's coming from the village. It just doesn't seem fair. I mean, there has to be some kind of consideration for what's going on here.
Mr. Nichol, have you talked with some of the other neighbors? Are they having the same problem?
I have not talked to my neighbors.
Okay. Ross, have we had any complaints on that?
No, we haven't, but Steve had contacted me about a year ago when we said we were doing the reliability study, and that's kind of where it's sat. So we got that information back. We did get a prioritized list of the areas that we need to fix. That's one of them. Again, I don't know what the dollar amount is, so it's known now, and the next step is find the money.
What if we fix just that one spot? Just his right now?
The problem is you've got small piping over there, and it's a dead end loop. Now, the one thing that they could
If
potentially.
we're giving him bad water, and we agree, and I'm not saying Steve's right, but if we're doing what Steve says, and we agree that we're doing it, then we should be giving him some relief.
It would certainly be something to be considered. Now, the discussion that I've had with Ed, the one other discussion on it, suggested that, trying to think of what the heck he said now about it, I don't know. I have talked to Ed about it. I know one thing that we could consider is more flushing of the system, but I don't know what
Well,
that does.
that's
in
not
the
getting
long
rid of the sulfur gas now. You know, so now we've got,
Well, that's the first I've heard about the sulfur gassing, so.
Would it help though, I mean, as far as, relieving some of that?
I'm sorry?
By flushing, would that relieve some of the gas?
It does, it gets rid of some of the rust. And the rust is what's causing the chemical reaction, I believe, inside the pipe that's
Do you
causing.
know approximately, or when DPW has done this?
I don't know what their flushing schedule is for over there, and that may very well be an area that has to
Ed
be
just
flushed
did
on
it.
a more regular basis.
I saw Ed on the road and I just was asking him, he went this last week and he flushed it, I don't know, once or twice. I don't notice the difference right now because the egg smell, you know, the sulfur smell is in my system. I'm gonna have to start, now I think the only way I'm gonna be able to get it out is to cut the wall apart in the bathroom and get into the plumbing and cut the pipe apart. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is just not right. And there's no guarantee that it won't happen again. I mean, if I have to put a carbon filter on my house, and that takes care of it, I'll do it. Just like I put these softener filters on, and I'm paying for all the salt, and I'm doing all the work to take care of it. I'm willing to do that. But what I'm not willing to do is to keep paying the same thing that everyone else is paying, and they have clean water, and I don't.
Did Ed give you any kind of a figure as to this carbon filter bit?
It's not a big, it's a spin-on, you can just get the spin-on filter, you know,
Oh,
the
okay.
canister with the spin-on filter. After he explained it to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. The big deal is now I've got the stuff in my pipes, it's trapped, and I don't know of any other way to get it out.
Yeah, I'm sure Steve is right. You know, again, there's a number of houses there that are on this dead end main, and what happens is water doesn't flow through there and flush the system on a more regular basis like other interconnected parts of the village distribution system.
Now, we know where it ends, right?
Well, we know where it is, it's the loop around.
It ends on barrels, so
but-
it's coming off teats and it ends at barrels, there's a fire hydrant,
Oh,
you know, right at the end of teats.
Yeah.
At the end of barrels.
But
is it possible, Ross, that we'd be able to go around the corner, or go this way, or go that way? In other words, is there something we could probably do, like,
Ed said that wasn't possible, and I'm just trying to clarify. Ed and I have talked about this a lot already, and he just said that the system, the pipe, and the system that's over there, it's small, it's the oldest pipe in the village.
Probably 4 inch.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I thought it was
and
a
it's
3 or 4
collapsing on the
inch.
inside is what it's doing,
Yeah.
you know, so. I mean,
Can
you know
we
what?
change those pipes?
Can we?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure, it is $300,000 or $400,000, right? So,
And then increase the size of open.
Just his pipes would cost $400,000 to replace.
no, not his pipe, but why
But you
would
gotta
do
take it
just
to a loop.
Steve's and not everybody
Otherwise, you're
else's?
creating the same
Right
issue.
now,
Same issue.
he's got the real problem that I haven't heard of somebody else have.
Okay, but with all due respect, we've got to do a little bit of investigation. I've not heard from anybody else over there, although Steve has talked to me once before about the problem. So, and again, it's a known problem. We know that it's there. What we can do to alleviate his particular problem, we would have to look into a little bit. I'd like some time to talk to Ed about that and to determine why his house is having a problem. And And either other people are and they aren't talking to us, or other people are not.
This goes way back to when it was the
Yeah, I
church.
know
It's not just Steve's problem. It was when the church was there. The water was very inferior there.
Yeah, no,
But I really think we
even
should
as you said-
escalate some type of research, something that we can start to work on it. There's no reason that we have a resident that's getting inferior and unhealthy water. We need to do something about this sooner than down the list with the water
Okay,
study.
So I'm hearing about it right now, and I'm gonna need a little bit of time. I can't jump. We just started talking about water bills and the cost of water and so on. So, gotta take a look at it. Would like to do a review of it and determine who else over there has got a similar problem and what the likely solutions are to either him or the residents in that area. I don't wanna do an expensive project and, again, no offense, fix Steve and then I don't fix the other houses over there. It would make sense if we're gonna dig something up and replace something, that we replace that whole section. So I need to get back and take a look at what the estimated cost was. I can talk to Ro about the dead end mains. We do know that they're there.
Yep.
Been there for a long time, like you said. So I'd like a little bit of time to check into it and see what Ed's got to say about it. Ed has his perspective as well. And then I can come back and talk to you about what we think we can do, if there's something specifically for you, Steve, or does it make more sense to do something for the area?
Well, being that it is an expensive fix, it needs to be done and done correctly, not just a quick fix for
That's correct.
this house or that house.
It's not that
But-
this problem isn't here. I mean,
Right.
everyone knows about it, Ed knows about it, I mean, I directly know
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no question, I wouldn't be up here, you know, if there wasn't a problem. And like I said, Ed's tried to do every time I've asked him, he's been bent over backwards.
yeah.
Ed's a great guy, he's top notch, but
Well,
he can't fix a pipe.
well, Ross, maybe we could look into this, if this would help, if it's just a minor cost of this, what do you call it, charcoal filter?
Carbon filter.
The carbon,
Carbon filter.
well, the carbon,
Well,
filter-
yeah. If
Maybe
the,
we could give them that to install that,
sure, if
as a start.
if council is interested in doing that, then we need to make sure we don't have other residents that need it as well.
Right,
And so,
Well,
again.
I think
this-
really at this time, we're giving you some time to go ahead and check it
All right,
with Ed
that's fair enough,
and overhaul whatever you have to do there roughly,
yeah.
But I think if it's just a minor filter bit, I think we should just provide it.
Yeah, but,
I
right,
sort of agree with that.
but you shouldn't be
Yes.
satisfied with just a filter, I mean, you should,
yeah, it's not just the mine, the carbon filter is just for the sulfur, that's the
Doesn't
gas,
solve the other-
the egg smell that's coming through.
Yeah, well, if it's
The
just-
rusted crappy, undrinkable water is the problem, that's,
well,
and
if
like I said, Marv,
It's
I'm-
helping part of the solution, Steve. That's
well,
what
I've
I'm-
already solved I've solved everything up until this point, other than I got the sulfur gas.
Yeah.
Once I got the sulfur gas, I didn't know what else was going on, and like I said, now it's in my plumbing system, so I'm gonna have to start cutting walls apart. I don't think I should be the one paying for this, I don't think I should be paying for this water, I really don't. I mean, if we're talking about, you guys don't have the money to take care of the main, and there's one or two houses over there, or three houses that have this problem, why are they even being charged for water when the rest of the village has got nice, clean, drinkable water that doesn't stain their clothes, and you don't have to have $3,000 in filters? I mean, we're not talking about the 1,100 gallons, that's 4,000 gallons a year I go through of water that I'm paying for, that other residents are not paying for. And I'm not trying to say that the other residents should be paying for it, I'm just
You're
saying.
looking for the
I'm
same
looking for some
standard as
relief in this.
everybody
If we're
else.
not gonna fix it, I'd like some relief.
Well, I think council's agreeing with you, and we'll give Ross, his time to go and see what he can do to bring this up for you.
Talk to the village
And your
engineer.
residents over there.
Okay.
Talk to the village engineer, who's the group that did the study of the distribution system, see if they have any quick corrective action. I doubt they will, and they will recommend probably that whole area gets done. But I'll talk to them, and then Steve, I get back to you and let
Okay.
you know, and then if council's willing to give you some type of a rate cut or something like that for the type of water. Frankly, I think what probably we need to do is just flush more often over there. It's the fact that the water sits. And if the DPW flushes a quarter of the village once a quarter, right, then for 9 months out of the year, you don't really move that water that's in that system other than what's coming through the, by pressure, you know, in the houses.
Well, I think that that's a somewhat accurate statement, but I don't think that it's a cure-all, because the amount of iron that's in that pipe and the degradation of that pipe, I still have to have these water softeners on.
Right.
Like I said, I've already absorbed over $7,000 to try to use the water. I don't think there's other residents in the community that have had to do that.
Well, I understand that this is a pipe that's close to maybe 80 to 100 years old over there, so, you know.
Could be.
Well, again, we can do what's in our distribution system. Steve, have you checked up to where it connects with the distribution system? You know, your piping up to that point?
For my pipe from the main,
Your pipe to the main, yeah.
my pipe from the main is new copper,
All the way?
all the way.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, well, I will talk to Roe and see what they can recommend. I'll talk to Ed, and we'll see about doing some more flushing in the area, more routine basis, to see if that helps move the water and keeps it from becoming, you know, stagnant, quote unquote stagnant, which is what not a dead end main, but an active main does, because the water flows through there generally, as opposed to a dead end main, which is coming in at one point. So
Okay.
let me do that. We'll try to get back to you by the next meeting.
Okay?
Ross,
Just 2 weeks.
Where it ends, how far would the next connection be if they had it connected to the roundabout?
What's the street that runs,
Peach Street.
Pardon?
Pete Simon's bar.
The one that goes past the, I can't think of it, goes past the park, the front of the park.
Prospect.
Prospect Street. I think the intention is to connect to Prospect Street. So that would activate that main, allow water to circulate more than it does now in a dead end main. It's kind of trapped in there.
In other words, would that be like a city block almost, or maybe?
I'm gonna say it's 400 feet.
Yeah, I want to say 300 to 400 feet.
Well, first of all, you're gonna look at it,
Yeah.
that's your chance.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's, what you can come up with, I know you'll get back with Steve.
Yeah, I will update everybody at the next council meeting, so you may want to try to attend.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Steve, for coming in.
Yep, good night.
Good night.
See you, Steve.
All right,
You can't have that, or you can't have
any other citizen like to comment at this time?
He's here for the sidewalks.
Oh, sidewalks, okay. There's no presentations tonight. Administrative reports, F&B, treasurer's report you have, the code enforcement report you do have. Any liaison reports to be offered?
Yes, Mr. President, I'm gonna split this up so that I can do the water downstream here under old business, but just a couple things quickly. Mike, I did not get your sign up at the pump house yet, but I will. We've got the pictures of the police and fire department shields and ATOS up on the walls. These are small things, but work on those. And I did talk to Amanda Menudo of Macomb County Department of Planning and Economic Development. The signage, the waypoint signage for the trails has been produced. They are now working to find a vendor to install those signs, so they're in the middle of a request for proposal process. As soon as that gets moving, they'll advise me and I can come back to council. They're looking for signage both for Fulton and Depot Street, so just this is a heads up. Okay, that's what I have for liaison reports.
Mark?
Okay.
Planning Commission, just want to let everybody know that there's a public hearing, first Monday, 7:30 for the Planning Commission, and that's on, Mark Izzo's building about having a powdered coating operation in there.
Oh, for a special approval?
Yes. So if anybody'd like to attend, you're welcome.
That's a November 2nd, please?
Yeah, whatever that Monday is.
Yeah, day before the election then.
Correct.
Good. November 2nd, at 7 o'clock?
7:30.
7:30.
Very good.
Planning Commission's still on the old 7:30 day. Time.
Very good, thank you, David. We'll move on to the,
Steve, did you have it? I thought you were you
Oh.
gonna talk about F&B or no?
No,
Okay.
I don't have a
Okay.
report from F&B.
Okay.
I'll update later on old business.
Okay.
Thank you.
all right. The consent agenda approval of the regular council meeting minutes of October 12th and the payment of bills. What's council's wishes?
Mr. President, I'll move the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
Support.
By Clark,
Yeah.
moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, I'll roll on that one, please.
Ballard,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Belkey,
Yeah.
Conan,
Yes.
Sledge,
Yes.
Bullock.
I have to abstain because I was absent from the meeting. All right, we'll go now to the new business. And Mr. Ballard, on the sidewalk quotes, you want to comment, please?
Yes, we have, the gentleman from DE here. We've got some quotes to do some sidewalks. I have elected not to do any of the downtown sidewalks this time because, well, let's face it, they've been approved. And even though they are not approved by MDOT at this time, if you don't tear them out, you don't have to mess with it. So, and the last time they were approved by MDOT is when we had the road construction downtown done. Pardon me, and, so I wanna let those go. So I'm gonna turn this over to, Darwin from D&D to explain his quotes here, and, Darwin, the floor is all yours.
Okay. So, estimate number 6014 is the, quote to replace the 4 intersections at Burke and Church in downtown. The first number that you see on your quote is to meet MDOT current standards, and the second number that you see in the description is just to replace the concrete based on what is painted out by the DPW director. Estimate number 6015 is a quote to replace the 4 main intersecting sidewalk areas at Fulton and Main to the new MDOT standards or existing MDOT standards. That top number represents what that cost is, and the bottom number in the description represents the cost just to replace the existing concrete and add panels based on what the DPW director wanted to do. And estimate number 6016 is basically square footages that I was supplied to give an estimate for various areas in the village of Armada. All those areas will be 4-inch sidewalk, 6-inch in the driveways, 4,000 PSI. We will take responsibility for full lawn restoration, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Well, the one for the estimate 6016 is for $45,180.96. That is going to take care of the north side of East Main Street, remove and replacement of 4-inch sidewalk and 6-inch sidewalks in the driveway. Estimate square feet is 2,564 square feet, and the price includes lawn restoration, traffic control, concrete to be 4,000 PSI exterior, and concrete depth to be a minimum of 4-inch and maximum of 6-inch. Supplied labor and materials for the following is Fair Street, the west side of Fair Street, remove and replacement of 4-inch sidewalk, 6-inch sidewalk in the driveways. Estimate square feet is 1,828 square feet. Price includes lawn restoration, traffic control, concrete to be 4,000 PSI exterior, and concrete depth to be a minimum of 4-inch and maximum of 6-inch. And then supply labor and materials for the following. This is the First Street, the east side of First Street, remove and replace 4-inch sidewalk and 6-inch sidewalk in the driveways, a total of 992 square feet. Price includes lawn restoration, traffic control, concrete to be 4,000 PSI exterior, concrete depth to be a minimum of 4-inch and maximum of 6-inch. Supply labor and materials for the following. Fair Street, the west side of Fair Street, remove and replacement of 4-inch sidewalk, 6-inch sidewalk in the driveways. Estimate of 2,184 square feet. The price included lawn restoration, traffic control, concrete to be 4,000 PSI exterior, and concrete depth to be a minimum of 4-inch and a maximum of 6-inch. And the estimate is valid for 15 days for a total price of $45,180.96. To this, there will be charges to our residents because of our ordinance, where they will pay a percentage of
50%.
50%. So if you take that, you divide that by 2, that's gonna tell you what the bill to the village is gonna be.
So residents will pay about 22 and a half.
About 22,500 and some change.
Yeah.
Okay? So, that being said, in accordance with Village Code, Section 7-2C, 7, to waive the requirement of bid or RFP and accept the proposal from D&E Landscaping and Grading Incorporated at the cost of $45,180.96, and to authorize the street administrator to sign on behalf of the village.
Do you want to say to accept the proposal number 6016?
Yep, yes I do.
All right, we have support on that
Support.
by Shaw.
Yeah.
And how much do we have in that, Joe? Do you recall right offhand roughly?
Look right on your treasurer's report.
Yep.
Municipal street.
Is that the one we put in?
Yeah, municipal street. We're around 12,000.
No, well, then the budget versus actual.
Where am I gonna be
Major
looking?
street. Local street.
No, you're on budget versus
Yeah,
actual.
that's what I said. It's back to the sheet.
The one I distribute to you guys every month.
Oh, hold on, this
The
one.
summary, right here.
Sorry,
Oh,
yeah.
here it is, right here. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you find it, Lyle?
Municipal street,
Got it.
yep.
Here we go.
Well, in there, checking balance after bills is $296,917.80.
There you go.
Okay, we have enough money.
Yep.
Got it covered.
That sounds great. We always don't have money, sir.
Check that, Rick. Check that, Rick.
Okay, so, any further discussion in council?
There's 2 west side Fair Street projects.
No, it should only be one.
That's in there twice.
It's in there twice.
So Fair Street west side for 1828, Fair Street west side for 2184.
Okay, we'll take the 1828 then.
It should be First Street, east and west side.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the
First Street, east and west side.
Yeah.
Thank you for catching that.
1828.
I think it's 2184.
Okay, that'd be in the
The
second
quantities
page.
are correct,
Page
it's
two.
just the First Street should be, the Fair Street should be First Street, west side.
And Marv's asking for the 2184 square foot, right?
Yeah, the two
Yeah,
thousand.
that's on there, west side.
Correct.
All right,
Okay.
any further questions? Clerk, call roll, please.
Ballard,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Belkey,
Yes.
Wolock,
Yes,
Sledds,
Yes.
Clark,
Yeah.
Thomas.
Yes.
motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Deany.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Hey,
this.
Have a good
Tyler,
night.
are you gonna sign that and get
And,
it
I'll
out
sign it
now?
right now and hand it to him.
When are you gonna start, sir?
We'll probably be starting next week.
Okay, sounds good. Is the weather gonna do much to us?
We should be in good shape.
Now, you put some sulfur or something in it, or?
Probably minor amounts of chloride, but nothing too crazy.
2020.
So it'll probably be like, falls on Monday,
Pretty close, Monday or
November
Tuesday.
2nd then?
Yep, right after Halloween.
Yeah.
There you go, boss.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Well, good luck.
Have a good day, have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Get your home. No, we just put some more money.
Can't take it with you.
That's right.
We wanna talk about B?
Yep.
Mr. Ross?
Yes, we do. Okay, at the last council meeting, we presented the work of the retirement transition committee to date. That's Ed Saratowski's retirement as the DPW supervisor. Committee, as you know, is Steve Lyle and myself. We made a point, I hope that it resonated, that replacing Ed is not as simple as it sounds. There's much more involved than just replacing Ed. There's other issues that need to be addressed as part of this process. We did discuss four general options that we had. They were deemed to be the most likely options. And we asked council to review the packet and let the committee know if we missed something obvious or there was other suggestions on the table as to how to solve the problem. Nobody's approached me, Steve Lyle.
Nope.
Okay, so we think it was pretty straightforward. I don't know that there's any magic in this. So what we want to do tonight is present the committee's recommendation to council as to the path forward. We want to get the other potential options out of the way so we can go full guns on getting this resolved. Next page. Issue again is this is a complex problem. You know, the big piece of it obviously is to hire a new supervisor. We've got additional full and part-time employees we're trying to hire. We want to better identify and manage the increasing DPW workload. We don't, the DPW workload on its face would seem to be well-known and understood, but in reality, there's pieces of it that I don't think any of us understand and don't appreciate the amount of time and efforts involved, so we need to get a grasp on that. There's waterworks activities that have, as hard as the DPW tries to get to all of it, they don't get to all of it. And if we don't get to some of that stuff and we get inspected, then we get poked in the eyeball by Eagle. You're not necessarily going to get poked in the eyeball for the DPW not picking up leaves, but you will get poked in the eyeball if you don't do the things that you need to do to meet statutory and regulatory requirements from the state. There's affordability of the path forward. Money's always an object. We just spent close to $50,000 here. Money's an object. There's timing to execute a changeover of the DPW supervisor. There's a learning curve of whoever comes in to do that, to include new employees, so on and so on and so on. It's a complex problem. It is not a simple problem, and you can't look at it just that you're going to replace one guy and everything is going to be fixed. It's not the way it's going to work here. Some key dates to keep in the back of your head. Ed retires on 31 March of next year. That's in less than 5 months, or about 5 months. And we really believe, the committee believes, and in talking to other folks that are in this, that are involved with transitions like this, you want to begin early. You don't want to wait until the day before one guy leaves and the next guy comes in to think about transitioning a department. DPW is a pretty fundamental part of what we do in this village. Transition really should begin on or about the 1st of January of 2021. That's in about 2.5 months. So it did not give us a whole lot of time to come up with the various solutions to a complex problem. We've got a number of things that we've done to date or are in process. I think we know what we want out of a new DPW supervisor. The thing that we don't quite know yet is whether he's going to be somebody elevated from within the department or we're going to externally hire. Option 3, or correction, the option that we're going to put on the table, which is option 3, we don't tell you what we need to do there. That's another supplemental decision that has to get made. I think we know where we would like to go, but it's an open discussion for council, right? That has to be worked out. But we've identified the requirements we want out of the new supervisor, and something that has to be in the back of your head is that person really does have to fundamentally understand how to work the water works component of the DPW tasks. You've got to be able to manage the type 1 water system that we have in the village. We've recognized that the DPW workload has increased. Again, my particular concern as the water commissioner is the water activities that we can't quite get to. We need more staff, and the council has already recognized the fact that we need more staff. We're trying to actively hire a full-time guy and a part-time seasonal worker. Next page. We're working to define the DPW roles and responsibilities. That's taken a bit of a backseat here, but we gotta crank that back up and clearly define what we expect the DPW to do. The new supervisor is going to need to know that stuff. I think everybody on council has expressed a desire to understand what that is, and possibly the priorities related to those things. We got to do that, and that's somewhere in the periphery of all of this right now, but that's a key component of this, especially for the new supervisor. We have been talking to F&B. I've been talking to them fairly extensively about scope of work that they would undertake if we considered hiring them in to manage the village waterworks. Why are we talking to F&B? Simply because we could compete this to other companies, Suez, American Waterworks, there's other companies out there, we could compete it. But F&B does the same kind of stuff. They've got a footprint in the village, they've got an operation going, they understand how to work with the village, they know what we're looking for, and they've got the talent to be able to do it. Why is that important? Because if we potentially can get them to come in theory, because we don't have a price yet, in theory they should be able to do it at a cheaper price than competing it to somebody else out there. Right? So that's what we're operating on here, is that they may be able to do that. Now, we haven't decided to go with those guys, and it will take a 5/7 vote of council to go in that direction because of our financial management ordinance, which says that you should compete stuff like this. And that's the right thing to do, is compete it. However, this is a unique case where we think we can get a benefit, a cost benefit and efficiencies out of going with F&B. But again, we don't have a contract in front of us. There's not a proposal on the table yet. We're talking to them. We're exploring scopes of work. I've been heavily involved in that. Steve and I, in fact, were at a meeting this last Friday on it. And I think at the next meeting, we'll have a cost estimate. Pencil may not be fully sharp, but we'll have an idea what it will cost, right? We're expecting the people that manage the facility to do what Ed is suggesting it takes him, which is about 20 hours a week to work on water stuff. That's 20 hours that he does not work on other things, right? So could be more, could be less, it depends on what the situation is. 20 hours a week is what we're using right now as a baseline to talk to F&V. And, you know, a very important bullet at the bottom here, you know, council has determined, not the committee, council has determined that we're not raising taxes out of this. And so it's got to be out of whatever Ed's salary and benefits are at this point, whatever he makes, that would help pay for this. And then depending upon what route we go, we may have to ante up a little bit more out of the departments. Probably water more than anybody else, because it's really looking for somebody to manage the waterworks. Next page. We had looked at, again, we mentioned 4 options, and one of the options is status quo. Just don't do anything. Leave it as it is. Hire another supervisor, don't change the DPW staffing, and then try to roll with that. I don't think that's working very well now. I don't know how many other people agree with it. I think 2 other people agree with it. It's not working really the way it should. We need more help. Option number 4 is kind of a punt option. It's is do something to band-aid the fact that Ed's going to go, and until we figure out something better to do. I really don't like going that route. We need to solve the problem and not kick it, right? So that leaves options number 2 and number 3. Now, option number 2 is increase the size of the DPW to manage the workload. It does not transition the waterworks to anybody, but what it does is it gives you a DPW supervisor, it gives you 3 full-time employees by the time you're done with it, right? And 1 part-time seasonal guy. So you've increased your staff by 1, hopefully to manage the additional workload. Again, a key piece of that is whoever the supervisor is, he's got to be able to manage the water treatment facility. So he's got to have a D3 and an S3 license. And you need to have an alternate that has a D3 and an S3 at a minimum, right? Currently we've got that. So Ed's got a D2 and an S3, and Dave Wagner has a D3 and an S3 license. So currently we're good in the eyes of Eagle. Whoever we would hire for a DPW supervisor position has to have that, or we got to get somebody else qualified on the DPW staff to do it. We wouldn't be able to do it anytime soon. People aren't where they need to be in terms of training. Vic's not, and so on. He's working on it, but he's not there. Option number 3, you kind of maintain the DPW status quo, and when I say that, I mean 3 people. So you would have a DPW supervisor and 2 full-time guys, one of which we're trying to hire now, and another seasonal part-time worker. But what the difference there would be is you now hire a waterworks management company to manage all the statutory regulatory stuff that we have to do as part of managing a type 1 water system. That's the principal difference, is your DPW staff stays the same size as it currently is. You hire in a new supervisor, again, whether it's elevating somebody or hiring from outside, if you can find somebody that would do it, and having a waterworks management company to do the water treatment plant and related tasks and activities. Next chart. We took the pros and cons chart that we had before and we added to it. I'm not going to go through all of this, but let me see if I can summarize it. So option number 2 is you do not outsource management of the water treatment plant, but you hire more people and you keep it all in-house. I would suggest to you that that's a less robust option, because you still got to struggle with the water department, and you got to have knowledgeable people to do that, and they got to focus time and attention on all of those things that that they have to do to meet the requirements. We still have to get a full-timer hired, which we're working on, and the seasonal guy. So there's a gap there until we fill those gaps. I would suggest it's going to be a less expensive option than option number 3, which is hiring a management company. Number 3 is a more robust option, I feel, because it gets you the, and I would say that I think the committee feels that it's a more robust option because you brought a professional manager in to do the water treatment plant who's licensed and can take on that responsibility, so the DPW does, focuses on their village tasks. Does not mean that they totally cut the cord on things that they do for waterworks. For example, we would expect the DPW staff to go into the well houses and chlorinate the systems over there and take readings and do the water distribution system repairs and that type of stuff. That's not what the management company is going to do. The DPW staff would still do a lot of that, those labor tasks, and so on. But it's a more robust option because it brings in the manager to do the water treatment plant, the sampling, water sampling, the bacteriological sampling, the running the samples out to Lansing or Chesterfield or wherever they got to go. We now have to do PFAS sampling and so on. I think you'll see the issues that we talked about, all these different problems we're trying to solve. I think you'll see them solved quicker than option number 2, because you've got a professional guy in there that kind of understands the process, and the DPW folks that you bring on and hire in don't have to manage that piece. But I would suggest it's probably going to cost us a little bit more. Again, we're not looking to raise any taxes. It's all going to be taken out of high. Fundamentally, again, it's Ed's wages and benefits is, the dollar figure that's on the table to pull from. Some of that pays for whoever the new DPW supervisor is going to be, and then you've got a full-timer that you've got to deal with, a part-timer, and the management functions. So, and a lot of that depends upon what you do with your DPW supervisor, whether you elevate from within or you hire from without. There's some dynamics there that the committee hasn't solved. I think we know which way we would like to go in terms of hiring a DPW supervisor, but that's still an issue that has to be explored with council. I know council's got some potential concerns. So, next page, we do really need though to put all of our eggs in one basket and move in one direction. We need to get some of these other options out of the way and stop exploring this stuff and, as I say, go full guns at a particular option. Due to the timing that we talked about on the first page and the time that it takes to set this stuff all up and execute, right? Here's a hazard note. I mean, there are other stuff that has to be done. I'm pretty heavily involved with F&B because I think it will pay off for us. So I need to keep focusing on that. I think the transition committee, because a lot of the DPW roles and responsibilities involve, sewer, streets, and water, as well as other things. I think we can probably take that on and get the roles and responsibilities list done. I would recommend that the internal and external DPW hiring decisions and negotiations go to a different group of people, because we're already fairly well tied up here. So I would recommend, Mr. President, that goes to another group. And that decision then of whether you go out with an announcement at $400, every time you place the announcement for a new DPW supervisor, or elevate somebody from within, that group can decide that question. I think our committee already knows, as I say, which way we would recommend, but we can leave that to another committee to work that out. The full-time labor hiring decision, Michelle's already got that well in hand. I think she's doing her advertising. What's it cost for that every time you advertise?
It was like $100, give or take.
Okay. All right, for a laborer, have we had any, we've had a few hits.
We have a few resumes, a few applications. But, you know, you
Yeah.
have to look at them.
Yeah.
Whoever the committee is that's going to be, you know, reviewing needs to look at what we have.
Yeah.
We've got nothing for supervisor though, and I think that if we were gonna move forward with that path, we need to get on that now, because, I mean, we're not, you know,
Right.
we've had that ad in the paper for, I mean, I haven't had it in lately, because we have some, you know, we have some, but none of them are applying for the supervisor position, and that's gonna be a more complex
It's-
requirement
Yes.
that would need to, like, you know, you have to do it by the next meeting at the absolute latest, because,
We're, you know, and I'll be honest, I mean, we're looking for a working supervisor, somebody that's gonna get into the hole with the DPW guys. And, I think we got a pretty good salary now, but I think we're looking to reduce that a little bit if we hire out to somebody. So, gotta find the right guy or gal that wants to do that. There's tons of ads out there for DPW people.
It's like the other, it's like the other
Well,
department.
what's the committee's recommendation?
We think you've got somebody qualified on staff now to bring up, who's expressed an interest in it, and,
Didn't
you know,
mention any names though right now.
no, and that's for a committee to explore, but there is somebody that's interested, and then I think if you pull waterworks away, it really becomes a bit of a no-brainer.
I agree.
How are you gonna make a motion? Which I'm in agreement with.
It's-
you're not,
No,
neither of
Dave
those.
Flip that, yeah.
Hold on,
do
this
the
is,
short
yeah, we're
Another
gonna
piece
make it
of paper
simple,
instead of that.
we're gonna make
You
it
got a
simple.
new one.
Yeah.
And then last, I would say transition planning, I mean, a lot of that's gonna be me. I gotta make sure whoever comes in to manage the water, treatment plant and do the samples and that kind of stuff, and writes the reports and keeps the state off of our butts. I gotta make sure that they are transitioned by the time Ed leaves. Ed's got 40 years of experience, and that's not easily transferable, right, in 3 months. Last page, I think it's, the recommendation of the committee, Steve Lyle and I, that we vigorously pursue option 3. There are some decision points in option 3 that we really need council to weigh in on. One is that DPW supervisor. You know, what does council feel comfortable with? I would defer to those, you know, the people that got a little bit more experience with the employees to decide that. We can go, you know, full guns on finding somebody outside, but I just use my wife Sam. You know, she's a clerk in Algonac. Took them 2 years to find a DPW supervisor.
Yeah, we're not, yeah, you won't.
I like,
Don't say anything.
what you were proposing here. This is what I thought right along, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
But there's, what Russ, I think what Russ was suggesting also is setting up another committee to review the applications we've got and interview some people out of there.
For the
To
full
make
time.
For the
Yeah,
full
for the full
time.
time.
Well, and you've got, yeah, and I think,
Well,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've got another person that had worked for the village in the past, from a laborer standpoint, that I think would be happy to come back, and we were very, I'd say I wasn't on council, but council appeared to be very happy with his performance, would come back if water was not connected to it, right? I mean, so, it's just, there's some dominoes here, and we gotta figure out how we want them to
well,
fall.
prior to this, when we were hiring a new person for the DPW, the superintendent, in which I would see no reason why he couldn't still be doing that, review these applications,
Yeah.
including the possible return of
Yep.
an employee,
Yeah,
and make his recommendation.
yeah, we could
And
do, we
it's,
could do
you know,
that.
generally in the past, we've accepted, after he's researched it, we've accepted his recommendation.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need a separate committee to review
Okay,
those
I think that's fair.
applications,
No,
because that has not been our process.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
no, it's
That's
primarily
fair.
what we're looking for is a group of you guys, aside from the 3 of us, like I say, we're kind of engaged right at the moment, to look at the supervisor position. That's the one that really needs some
Again, I like the
discussion.
recommendation you guys are making,
Okay.
elevating somebody from the department.
Right, do we wanna talk that now, or do we wanna hold off on that?
No, I think you need to hold off.
I think
I think
you-
discussions have to happen with people.
You have to have some kind of negotiations somewhat with the employees. before we
Exactly,
make
otherwise
that
you don't know what kind of
total
contract you're gonna put
recommendation.
together.
You have to negotiate, you have to prepare a contract, the
And if you
contract
don't
comes to
meet
you
with
for
the employee,
approval,
you
then
have
it
to
gets
know what
presented to
kind
of
the
Right,
employee, and then it comes back.
Yes, no, you guys are exactly correct. I'm not saying offer him a person a job tomorrow.
No.
I'm just saying there needs to be a group of people that are talking to him actively. We are not at this point. We have not done that. We have not gotten there, and so, but given option number 3, that is certainly within the purview of option number 3. That discussion then needs to get started,
So
and that's
once-
the committee I'm talking.
Once you make your motion to proceed with option 3, then that, if Dave, if you and Mark wanna talk to to whoever, then you can do that. If you wanna, you, Mark, and
Whatever
and
Mark
Chris,
wants to do is
or
what
we'll do.
whatever, whoever.
I would sort of suggest maybe Ed get in on it,
And,
I mean, because he's done this in the past,
Yeah,
and I think it would be more welcoming, too.
so the 3 of you.
Yeah, so the 3 of us,
Yeah.
so I don't mind, and then David, our President Pro Tem.
okay.
Alright, so,
It's just,
you
we're
want
yeah.
not gonna
motion?
form a committee, it's just you.
Yeah, it just,
You want a motion on this? or
Yeah, I'm
would you
gonna-
like to make that motion?
I'm gonna do it here in a second. I just wanna also let you know that I have an obligation to talk to Eagle and let them know what our intention is too. I try to do everything I can to stay on their good side. It helps us out, trust me. And so, once we do that, cause their principal concern is we have to have somebody that's qualified for the water treatment plant, whether that's a management company or a DPW supervisor, they have to be qualified. Operator in charge has to be qualified. And you gotta have on call. And I think we can work this in a way that gives us all of that without any problem. So in theory, Eagle should be happy and not have a problem.
But I still would like to see 2, even though when Ed would go, I still would like to see 2, so the present laborer or the new laborer, we should not totally lift that requirement. If he will study,
Yeah,
whoever it is,
oh, yes,
he's welcome to it.
Yeah.
Yes, the cost is gonna be there for us.
Yeah.
As far as the extra benefits, with the hourly or whatever, but still, in the long run, it may be worth it.
right.
We don't know what sickness is gonna cause to a person, or we wish, that it would be totally graceful.
Yeah, having some redundancy in training is the way to
Yeah.
go. So
But like I
I,
say, I wouldn't wanna totally lift the requirement for a new person, because sometimes that tells you something.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, we just don't wanna be left short.
well, and, yeah, so you're correct. And so again, this is just the kind of interesting predicament we have, is we got one guy that is interested, good performer, just doesn't want any part of having to do water license training. But you have some other resumes in there, and maybe one of those is a better resume.
Well,
And
it
we
wasn't-
got
it wasn't
somebody
that he
there
has no
that's now that
interest.
I thought was interested.
Um,
Thought one of our current workers.
Vic
was.
Yeah, Victor, so if you
is-
get Victor, which I don't think he'll have any trouble passing, you'll have him and Dave with their water
Yeah, so,
licenses.
but like I said, I just like that,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
which I
yeah,
think is good, a good move.
yeah.
And
We
there
would-
you've got your 2.
We would
So-
never turn that off. It's just that this one particular employee, if a decision's made to hire him, he just said,
Yeah.
I can't do the math, I don't wanna.
And yeah, it wasn't that he's not interested, it's just that
Yeah.
he
Well,
knew
that's why
what
I
he
say
was
I
here
think
for.
I think if there was diligent help,
I,
Right.
we'll have
But-
to talk about that also.
Yeah, but option 3 allows us to explore all of that.
Yes.
Out of option 3, I'm mostly concerned of getting all the other stuff out of the way, this is how we're gonna go, but there are some decisions to make.
well, I think you should go ahead and make that now.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, we simplified it, Dave, make a motion to authorize the transition committee to proceed with option number 3. End of discussion.
Support?
Support.
By Clark? Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you.
council.
Mr. Ross, that's a very good report, thank you.
Thank you.
I think next one will make it a little shorter. Okay.
Should be-
Yeah, stuff's never easy, that's a heck of
There's a lot to cover there.
Yeah, that's a good coverage.
old business, I think.
Old business.
Yeah, sewer plant and water department, Mr. Clark and Mr. Ballard.
Yep, I've got a couple of things. I was down at the sewer plant today, I walked into the laboratory, Matt, our operator, he looked up and he says, "Oh, I was just gonna call you." And I go, "That doesn't sound good." I said, "What happened?" He said, "The autoclave had stopped working." So I said, "How much are we talking?" He just then started looking in Blue Book and some other stuff. He says it's about $6,000 to $7,000. It is an item they have to have. It is used to sterilize their equipment for testing that they have to do, that has to be submitted to Eagle, so I will expect to have a bill on the next meeting for this, so just kind of a heads up for everybody.
The equipment is old anyhow, right?
Yes, well, I asked him, I said, "How old is this?" And he kind of said, it's probably at least 15 to 20 years old.
Well,
So we
thank-
have
They-
a
they
sewer
were-
replacement fund for this, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was.
So, anyway, that cost will be coming up at probably the next meeting. I was down there also to kind of inspect what has been going on construction-wise. The block has been completed in the new pipe gallery. They've also got the new metal roof installed on it, and the stairs are installed to go down into that. The block and cement pad has been completed for the new generator. The old boiler has been removed, and a new one is being installed right now. And the air conditioner unit will follow. So there's been quite a bit of progress down there.
Good.
Yep.
Very good. Mr. Ballard, anything?
Nope, nothing for me.
Okay,
Oh,
we should.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I saved all the water junk to last other than what we talked about, so. Sorry,
You'll be short, I know.
sorry, Mark. Yeah, let me, wait a minute, let me get through all my pages here. Okay, so we do have some good news. I got a chance to, kind of on the cuff, a chance to speak to the Macomb County Board of Commissioners at their monthly meeting last Thursday on our arsenic detention easement request. Now, I gotta tell you, a lot, more work and more grief than you could possibly imagine. In any case, we finally got the right language to them. I mean, there was a period where they had the wrong language. We got the right language to them, did talk to them, and the easement was voted in the affirmative 11-0. So we got our easement, so that project, arsenic detention project, can complete at least the design engineering phase. The next would be the construction engineering if we decide to go forward with it. But we've got the easement, so that's a great note. And they don't want the dollar that it would cost us. So, I did talk to Sunshine Water Softeners today, the water softener guys, Sunshine and Water, probably the better way to put it, on the G2 media. So the product information been sent by the manufacturer to the NSF 61 group. I don't even know that I know who that is, for recertification. They said it's a slow process. It's, no kidding. Yeah, we've been up and down on this. But with that, then John Kesey said, "Hey, there's a new media that's just put on the market. So I got to know what your iron content is." Part of the problem that we had with going only to G2 was that the other media did not filter out the iron, and I'm not a chemist or a biologist, but that's a big part of the process to treat to pull the arsenic out of the water is it's got to bind with the iron. So I'm in the process of getting from Ed, what's our average iron content in the water, and what's the saturation rate on the filter. So I'm working to get it back to Sunshine. In other words, there may be another media that we could look at with the potential of being less expensive than the other. You remember the $371,000 for 2 of the 4 vessels, right? So the only caveat to that is all this stuff seems to take inordinate amounts of time to do, and in the meantime, our filters are getting more and more saturated. We turned in information on about 71 households in the village that are in arrears over late water payments to the state under the water arrearage program. That's a Senate Bill 690 that provides funding to help those people out, help the village out. Out of the 71, we had 5 households that qualified, so I wish it was more. But we have 5 households that qualified, so anytime now we should get a check for the arrearage amounts for those 5 houses. And they just indicated too that there's some money left, and so maybe we can get another 3 months for those 5 families to defer their water bills. So knock on wood for that. So that's good news. Just wish we could have done more with the given the 71. And we talked about, the fact that we've been in discussions with F&V, spending a lot of quality time with those guys. And I'm trying to set up a meeting with Lyle, you, and Steve, and me, and anybody else who's interested on the water, sewer, street, capital improvement plan and funding opportunities and priorities. There is a state grant that came in for water sewer. Now I'm looking strongly at that. That may help defer some things, right? So there's opportunities out there. There's probably more than I have the time to get involved in, but F&V is going to help us out a little bit with that.
Just keep in mind, 3 council members, 4 constitutes a meeting.
Yes. Yeah.
4 constitutes
I
a
got
meeting.
you. I think you can come in and audit, can you not, and not say anything? No?
I
Okay.
don't know.
All right, 3 council members.
I don't want to
Yeah, I
be
guess
in
that's
any
right.
violation.
I got you. All right, all you guys are uninvited except for Steve and Lynn. Okay, that's all I got.
Your face or face?
That's a lot.
All right, so, up and coming agenda items, council have any? If not,
Yes, I'm gonna try to give some kind of answer to Steve on what we figured out, what we think we can do to help him out. Again, that's gonna be a council decision. The only caveat is, and I'm not knocking Steve's problem, but, you may have a lot of people coming in that are asking for
What you do
relief,
for one, you have to do for all.
for various, water
you have
problems.
time to look at that, Russ.
We're supplying water that's not drinkable.
It's,
I think a lot of residents would say that their water isn't drinkable.
I think we should start out with some testing about water to see if it is drinkable.
yeah, that's the way I would like to go is, more hydrant flushing over there, which should, that's, as I recall, that's what Ed said would be about the only thing we could do short of changing the line and making an open-ended main, not a
Well,
closed.
that's another big cost for the loop itself. So, I mean, you have little time to look at it, so I mean, appreciate your help.
Yeah, but I wanna give him, I wanna try to keep him in the loop as to what we're doing. He, the Army taught me a long time ago, I don't have to like the answer, I just gotta understand it. And it may be that as soon as we can come up with a chunk of money, we'll do that. But I
If you
gotta
can
look
give
at,
him something before the next meeting, any kind of information, it
Yeah,
might be good
yeah.
to share with
I
him.
wanna keep him in the loop, Obviously, none of this is personal to him.
Should we keep these hydro core?
I would say yes, there's a question I wanna ask them. I would hang on to that, I don't know that it'll be significantly changed. If they do, then they'll give me an updated version. We do have a little bit of time on that, but I would like to get that done within the next month.
Is
Get
that,
it
that's
started.
not coming back to the next meeting? Is that coming back to the next meeting?
Yes, that would be the other thing that's coming
Okay.
back. And I'll either Either it'll be a
Dave,
happy
you can
story
keep it
or-
here if you want, but if, I mean, Ross will give, I'll print them out with the agenda again.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay, so I,
because I won't know who has it, I won't know who can find it, so.
okay,
Right.
All right, so
we'll file it.
next is the citizen comments. We have no citizens in the audience, let the record show. And next is council comments, any further? If not, community events to be announced? None. We don't have a closed session tonight, and at this time, I'm gonna entertain a motion for adjournment. And the time is, 8:40,
No,
8:17.
8:17, I move to adjourn, Mr. President.
Support.
Second, okay.
Okay, by Belkey. All in favor?
Aye.
I didn't ask for discussion, no, it's okay though.